part 2. Okay, so did we talk yesterday about these? Do you just want to kind of do a general overview of the second part and then go back and look at nitpicky things?
You were going to tell us all about the bells today.
Oh, right. I'll do that in a bit. Yes, that is true.
Yeah.
Let's finish the reality portion, and then I'll go back and give you all sorts of bell information to last you for the rest of your life. Okay. So.
With the reality portion, meaning the second part?
Correct. Yes. The sestet, the 2. What do you call the 3 lines?
Tercets.
Tercets.
Yeah. There you go. Okay. All right. So, did we talk about punctuation in this?
Yes.
Okay. So refresh memory, Yanni. What is the point of all the punctuation in the second half?
So it contrasts the first half where it's one long sentence, and now there's just, you see a bunch of end stops, like for example, periods and semicolons, and it's just it's more like, at that first it's like, and then I awoke, it's really abrupt and sudden, and it just contrasts like the harmonious like bells in the beginning.
Very good. Abrupt, sudden, this is good, because we talked about sometimes when you wake up, it's whoa. And what's there in front of you is not necessarily something pleasant. What were you going to say?
No, Yanni said the bells.
Okay. All right. So yeah, we get it. How does it read? It reads far more choppy in the second portion than it does the first. What else?
I was just going to say, could you say that it like fragments his like train of thought, I guess?
Good. Yes. It's far more fragmented. I like that word. Versus the fluidity of the 2 quatrains. Okay, good. Anything else to add? All right. Then I awoke, and lo, before me stood the vision ones. We talked about double entendre here? Mm-hmm. Yes? Mm-hmm. Okay. So let's refresh. What's the simple one? What's the literal one?
The people who see it.
Right, the literal people he envisions right before himself. Okay, all right. Secondly?
The second one is the Belgians who've seen the enemies. Yeah. Like they've experienced war, whereas the Brits have not. Yeah.
Good.
They bring with them the vision of war.
Correct. Okay, so I like that. They're bringing with them all sorts of visions, okay, that they have seen and experienced that the Brits have not necessarily yet. Okay. Pale and full of fear. Okay, that's kind of obvious, right? Because and you can tie that, the pale and full of fear, you can tie that to the second meaning of visioned ones, yes?
Yeah.
So you could use that full line and talk about it in a literal sense and a figurative sense, okay? You can call it double entendre. Make sure that you're plugging these words in, because that's what's going to boost you into the next mark band, okay? Pale and full of fear. Let's talk about imagery here. Obviously, we've got visual imagery here in all sorts of ways, okay? Not just the actual word vision, but looking at pale and full of. How do you know someone's full of fear? What is their expression like?
Wide-eyed.
Good. Wide-eyed. Write that down. Pale. What?
Panicked.
Panicked. You can tell by someone's face, in looking at them, what fear looks like. Okay? And then he gives us a list. From Bruges they came, and Antwerp and Ostend. Why?
Scale again?
Good, I like that. Write that down. Scale, good. Even though Belgium's a little bitty country, these are some of the bigger towns. Well, actually, Bruges is not.
And it's like,
oh, it's beautiful. I've been there. It's lovely. What?
And it's like all of those places have been affected. It's not just one place in Belgium. It's all of Belgium.
Good.
Maybe he uses a tricolon there to like try and show that like also the polysyndeton.
Yes,
the
good.
And you can almost imagine that the list continues.
Yes.
And.
Good. Are we okay just talking without me writing on the board?
Yeah.
Are we good with that? Okay.
How do you-
Because then it gets kind of
The spelling
messy.
of polysyn.
Polysyndeton. Polysyndeton. No N, no secondary. Okay. So close enough. They'll be very impressed if you use that word. So you've got polysyndeton, you've got a tricolon, okay? The idea that the list could go on, I think, is kind of the point. I like the concept of scale, and you could even add, despite the small size of the actual country, the listing of the cities encompasses everyone. Okay. It also makes it perhaps a bit, maybe our pathos is a bit more
because of the specific
elevated.
examples.
Yes,
Right.
because you've got, it doesn't just say they came from towns and villages, right?
It gives specific.
You've got
places.
specific names which give those people no longer have what? What do they no longer have?
The home.
A home, okay? So when you consider the idea of a refugee, you know, my home is in Antwerp, but I'm not there anymore. And I've come to a place that's unknown. That's my known place. This is my unknown place now, okay? You could tie this back to Drummer Hodge, perhaps, okay? No Carillions in their train. Anyone know or look up what a Carillion is? Anyone? Anyone? I asked you to look at this. Anyone? This is where the bell lecture begins. Okay? Okay. A carillon is actually a collection of bells that would be hung in a tower. Now, very specifically, hold on. What does that say right there? 23 is the smallest. I can barely read my writing. Okay, I see I'm having to look at
So
it
wait,
further
the
away.
carillion's
Yeah,
the
the
collection of
carillon is
bells?
the collection of bells that would hang in a tower, numbering at least 23. Okay? At least 23 bells would make up a carillon. Okay? So it's not just like a few, right? We're talking significant numbers. Again, you might be able to point this to scale. Okay? But the idea is, so we have this, the syntax of this sentence here, because your subject is they came, right? So from Bruges they came, and Antwerp and Ostend, no carillons in their train. They're pointing back to the refugees themselves, okay? No carillons in their train, because what did they bring with them in the dream state?
Dreams.
Bells.
They brought those carillons, right?
bells.
They brought the bells with them as gifts in the dream. Exactly, all right? For harmony, unity, etc. We're going to kind of repeat those things for the tape here, okay? But in essence, how would you move that many bells? You'd have to move them in some form or fashion, but train here also, what else does train mean besides the woo woo?
It means there's a lot of people coming.
Yes. Okay. A train of people. And I know you guys have seen images of people with their sacks on their backs and just walking
the
down the road.
Holocaust
Yeah. Yeah. Vietnam. Okay. Even now in a number of African countries, think about the number of refugees that flee on foot. Okay. And so
It's like a migration.
yes, it is. It's a migration. Except here, you're juxtaposing, writing that down, you're juxtaposing the idea that here they carry no bells versus here they offered gifts, okay, of the bells themselves, all right? Foes of mad mood had shattered these to shards. I'm going to pause there, okay, because that's a mouthful, okay? Foes of mad mood, all right? Clearly, who is that?
Germans.
Yes, okay? So let's pick it apart. First of all, Hardy calls the foes, well, he calls the Germans foes first, Okay, so you know this is enemy, bad guy. Painting them in a very negative light. Add this to your social commentary. Okay? Foes of mad mood. That's great alliteration there. Mad mood. All right, mad. Madness.
Mad, yeah, crazy.
Yes, it implies delusion. I like that. Delusional, violent.
Uncontrolled.
Yeah. Okay. There's a certain amount of insanity that comes along with the concept of mad.
Yeah.
So he's labeling, right? The foul tornado centered at Berlin. Same concept. Okay. So you had a lot of. Do you see why this is propaganda or
Yeah, 'cause they're
propagandistic?
blaming someone else.
Okay. Definitely pointing the finger directly back and straight up saying foe. Okay. Foes of mad mood had shattered these. What's the antecedent for these? Had shattered these to shards.
Bells?
People?
I think it's more about people and perhaps the bells themselves.
Oh.
But whatever
It's
it
ambiguous.
was that, yes, there's another favorite word, ambiguous. But whatever it was that should have been in the dream, these, could refer to the people, their gifts, the pride of their country because they are land of chimes. Okay? Willie, what were you going to add?
I was going to say that you could look at these in two different manners. You
Uh-huh.
could say the people,
Good?
and you could say that if the bells were to symbolize the people,
Yeah.
meaning the gifts,
Yes.
they are.
They
You could say
too.
that they too are shattered
Are
if
shattered.
they're individual bells of the carillon.
Yes.
Oh.
Good.
Because he says amid the gear,
No, it's-
amid the gear of
Ravaged
roof,
roof.
like roof of what?
Yeah.
So you could say the roof of the tower from which they
From which they hung. Yes.
hung.
With your belt.
Good. Okay. Foes of mad mood had shattered these to shards. What do we make of what device do we have there? Had shattered these to shards.
Assonance.
Yes, you could because it's Okay. There's partial. What else? We got the sh. Okay. That's simple alliteration. That's fine. Okay. So we have mad mood. So the alliterative M. We have shattered shards. So we have alliteration there. Then we've got the assonance, mad, had, shattered, maybe that's a stretch.
Shard is kind of a stretch.
Yeah, that's kind of a stretch, okay? But we've got that, so give me a purpose. Remember, what kind of device is this?
Auditory.
It's auditory, okay? So listen to it. Foes of mad mood had shattered these to shards amid the gear of ravaged roof and smoldering gable
ravaged
end.
roof.
Yeah, ravaged roof. Add that to your list. So you've got the alliterative R's there as well. So how does it sound? How does it sound? Foes of mad mood. There's harsh D's there as well, so you could add consonants to that. Foes of mad mood had shattered these to shards amid the gear of ravaged roof and smoldering gable end. You've got lots of
D.
I mean, to me, the way it comes across is it's kind of like emulating the voice of someone who would be angry, because when you're angry and you're like spitting words at someone, like accusatory, you're like, oh, it was you, like,
write that
spitting.
down, accusatory. It adds to the accusatory tone. Woo! Good job. What else?
I don't know if this is right, but the sh and the duh, they're two different sounding things, so it kind of juxtaposes the harmony with the more fragmented and like
Good.
choppy.
Good. Okay, so you could also say that that those contrasting sounds,
It emulates that change in
and it also adds to the punctuation, like you said, the choppiness. I like that. Okay? Because you've got those contrasting sounds, it makes it more choppy. And I liked the accusatory bit as well. That's good. Okay? What kind of imagery besides auditory do we have here? Had shattered these to shards amid the gear of ravaged roof and smoldering gable end. I drew a picture.
I love the word smoldering.
Smoldering. Let's pick on that word. Smoldering. First off, you got to look at the thing. Do you know what a gable is? I drew one.
It's like the point on
Right, it's the point on the house that comes out, right? Okay, like where the window would be. Okay, that's a gable. And so, why are they smoldering?
Because of the ransacked.
They've been bombed, or there's fire. They've been destroyed.
Ravaged.
Okay, yes. Thus the ravaged roof. What? Ravage. To
It's like-
ravage.
It's usually in like.
It's like almost
Well,
animalistic.
it's
I
Well,
think.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
isn't it kind of like sensual? Like isn't but
It implies violence, because usually, I mean, you can say ravage in a sensual sense, but oh, that was hard to say. But here, I think it's more about almost like a raping of the
Yeah,
country.
that's what I was
Okay,
gonna say.
so in essence, if you're talking about ravaged roof, then again, you've got harsh sounds in there,
I heard that.
which would add to the connotation of the violence associated with the destruction of Bruges, Antwerp, Ostend, okay, of their homes. Because that's what, think about that. He talks about the roof. Where is your roof?
Over your head.
Yeah, and it's your
It
home.
serves as your protection.
It's your protection, it's your safety, and yet it's been ravaged. So yet again, too, the harshness of this definitely points back to those foes and paints them as, oh, monstrous. Okay? That foul tornado centered at Berlin is over all the width of Europe whirled. And look what happens when it whirls. This. Okay? That's a really good connection to 1914. Yeah? All right? So, okay. So the second half, we've got the reality portion. We already talked about that. Okay? We've got big ideas. You tell me. Kind of in general, what big ideas did we just talk about that we need to add to our list?
Social commentary.
Good, okay. A very distinct social commentary aimed at painting.
Propaganda against the Germans.
Good. Painting Germany in a propagandistic way, very negative, as animals, as monsters, okay, that would do this to defenseless people. Defenseless. Because, again, they were just in the way for little Belgium. Okay, types of imagery. Types of imagery. This could go into your devices list. What do we have?
Visual, auditory.
Mostly visual and auditory. Very good. Okay. But you get that auditory also from the sound devices present. We talked about assonance. We talked about consonants. We talked about alliteration. We talked about the contrasting sounds of sh and duh and tuh and the r, okay, to make it all the more violent. Okay, good. Let's back up a bit and maybe do this. Let's talk about imagery here. Let's go imagery first because that's an easy thing to do. All right, and I think it's also really, it's pretty obvious. Imagery. What types of imagery do we have playing in the octave?
It's mostly visual.
Okay, and where would that vision occur?
In his mind.
Correct. Okay, so we've got a dream-like vision. Okay. So we've that. What else is visual? We'll do the auditory in a minute. What else is visual? What else can you see?
I feel like the autumn. You can see the autumn. The
And
colors.
good, yeah. Maybe the colors, the gifts that they arrive with, hanging those bells.
Oh yeah, to hoist them.
Yeah,
Yes.
Hoist is very.
Especially what about the market?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I think the market too is also visual and auditory. Yes, because we talked about all the things that go on. Good. Okay. Musical rhymes. Musical rhymes,
Yeah.
definitely auditory. The whole concept of bells and the idea that they're being rung into space at meted times. We talked about the meter. Okay. All of the auditory imagery in the first two quatrains serves what purpose?
To create a certain rhythm that would mimic the bells.
Good. You've got rhythm, okay? Rhythm mimicking the bells themselves. What else? Add to that. We talked about this yesterday. I just want you to say it again. We've got what happening in the first half versus what is musical?
The harmonious.
Oh, yeah.
There we go. Good. So the auditory imagery in the first two quatrains adds to the idea of harmony, both literally and figuratively, doesn't it? Okay? Because here, the harmony between the two countries, hi, we come bringing gifts. Oh, thank you very much. We will probably hang them in our towers and citadels. So harmony between nations, as well as literal musical harmony itself. Okay? I think here too, we've got some more visual, the night's empty, starlit silentness. We talked about the sibilants yesterday, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
What did we say? Somebody remind me.
Quiet, whispering, sleep.
Good.
It's like the dreamlike voice.
Good. Okay. So we've got juxtaposition. That's a huge device here, yes? Think of all the things that are juxtaposed here. All right? You've got first two quatrains, sestet. Dream, reality. Harmony, discord. Oh, I gave you another word yesterday. What's another word for?
Cacophony.
That's, yeah. So discord, cacophony. What's the other word for harmony? Euphony. Right? Do you know how to spell that? Did you write that down? Yeah. EU, phony. Okay? Good.
Oh.
So, I'm pretty pleased with that. Y'all good?
Yes.
I like this one. Of course, I say that about every single one. Okay, we're going to stop.